welcome to the Production Pioneers podcast that investigates manufacturing innovation, where we take a hard look behind the products themselves and explore the challenges and opportunities shaping the future of manufacturing, production, distribution in 2025 and beyond. I'm your host, Kevin Durkin, CEO of Quant-Tek. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined with Keith Smith, President and CEO of VONCO Products. Keith brings over 25 years of manufacturing experience, including managing $1 billion division at Appleton Papers before acquiring VONCO in 2012. Under his leadership, he transformed the 70-year-old company from a traditional manufacturer into what he calls an innovation partner, specializing in medical fluid bags, flexible packaging, and comprehensive contract manufacturing service. Keith's been recognized as a Titan 100 leader for his approach to manufacturing and transformation. What makes his story particularly compelling is how he's maintained VONCO's family-owned values while embracing cutting-edge technologies like AI, rapid prototyping to serve leading medical device manufacturers and consumer brands nationwide. Keith, welcome to the show. Excited to dive into the insights on leading manufacturing innovation in today's rapidly evolving landscape.
Thanks, Kevin. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah. I really doing the research with you. It was pretty interesting. So I've got some pretty in-depth questions for you, if that's okay.
My pleasure.
So when you bought VONCO in 2012, how did you transform it from a traditional manufacturer and what you call an innovation partner?
Yeah, it was a bit organic, I guess. It wasn't as deliberate as it might seem now. I guess in hindsight, I could have seen this stuff, but it just slowly started to happen. And in fact, when I was working for Appleton, I had a pretty big job there, but I was hired to run plastic companies. We sold those, and then I stayed on with the paper companies, and I gave that the college try, and I really liked the company and the people that were there. But I always had a dream to own my own business, and it seemed like the best time as any. My history had been in plastics, and I was looking to find my way into running something special. And I had done that for 2 years. I was moonlighting with my current partners, trying to find opportunities, reading, memorandum offerings over and over again, running analysis, meeting with banks, back and forth multiple times over, and just it took a while. We didn't get a deal done in almost 2 years, all the way to the point where I was frustrated and wanted to give up on it. And in fact, we did. There was one of the guys that I continue to partner with. We both said, "Hey, I think we need a break." It was an indefinite break. It was July of 2012, and we talked almost every day for 2 years, and it just went radio silent because of the frustration. And then it was September at some point where he's like, "Hey, I just ran into a company that doesn't have everything you want." We got to know each other and what we were looking for, and he's like, "But I wanted to run it by you just in case." And I don't think if I wasn't down in Chicago, I was living in Appleton at the time. If I wasn't in Chicago that week, I wouldn't have done it. But I said I was down there anyway. I'll go take a look, and walked in to VONCO, and it was family run for multiple years, for multiple decades, quite frankly. It was two generations, and there was a lot of family decisions that were made versus maybe what you might make as a corporation that I was working at the time. So I knew there was gaps there. But what was impressive was the technology that they were making. Shaped packaging at that time, very uncommon, and they were doing it at very low tooling cost. They were making fluid bags at that time, always one of the more difficult areas to compete in from a quality standpoint, and doing that really well. And then they were doing it on unsupported polyethylene, which from a consumer side of things, even back then wasn't very common, and it's still a struggle for many of the equipment. And it was born out of the fact that they make their own equipment. That's how this company was founded. VONCO was founded on the back of selling sealing equipment and perfecting that sealing equipment. And so it transitioned into the consumables in the 70s, but that mechanical engineering, that machine building DNA still runs really deep through our DNA here. And yeah, it was certainly a difference, right? As in a third floor, nice kind of executive office, and then 1,400 people in that division, and coming to a company with about 55 people in it, and big difference in what was going on. In the first week, we had tremendous. I like to tell this story quite a bit. We had a fire uh, in the air compressors. Everyone scattered, so I literally had to go put the fire out. And then we had these inverse docks that would flood and almost come pouring in. And then we had a pretty significant injury that week, but it was kind of our reputation, and so there was just that was all within the first week, and so
Yeah.
we had to make a major transformation to be thought of as seriously as we are now as a medical device contract manufacturer. And in fact, I bought the company to be. My background was in food, and so I was going to attack the food market with these technologies. And we did that. We did that for 2 or 3 years. This is where, I wish it was more deliberate. But as we marched on, spent a lot of marketing dollars to establish ourselves as a food manufacturing business, packaging. Um, Medical device companies were knocking on our door about these shaping technologies, fluid technologies, these fitments we could insert. And I'm not marketing there at all. So by the time it was a little dense, but by 2016 and 17, after so many calls, I'm like, maybe we should actually shift our focus. And in 16, we started to shift our focus. We built a brand new building that would support, what we believe our customers value, and then started to invest in equipment around that same strategy. And really, we haven't looked back since.
Almost forced into the innovation partner.
Yes, yes, yes.
I'm sorry. In the introduction, I forgot to mention where you guys are located. Could you let the audience know?
Yeah, sure. We've got two locations now. We're in Trever, Wisconsin, which is part of Kenosha County, and then there's one location outside of Indianapolis in Fortville, Indiana.
Okay, thanks. So your journey from papers to Vonco is pretty fascinating. How would you describe your leadership and management style, especially in driving that infectious energy culture you're known for?
Yeah, I think that's first and foremost is live by that core value, and it's caring more. And so
That
the
was my next question. We care more.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll bring the two together, and we can talk. We can flip it and talk strategy if you want, but let's talk about the culture first. And that caring more is a bit of the oxygen mask on the airplane philosophy here. Is you can't care more about others until you care more about yourself, and so really investing in your own energy and being the best person and the most energy you can bring to the activities that you're doing is how we live. And so constantly finding ways that I get excited about what I'm doing, finding ways my employees get excited about what they're doing, right? So that they're excited to get in here and work, but care more about yourself. And it also goes into a bit of our health and wellness initiatives the way we treat each other. So we care more about ourselves, so we can care more about each other that are here at VONCO, so we can care more about our customers, so that they can care more about the patients and consumers they serve, right? So it's this circular process. And when it comes to that energy, it really fuels itself. I visualize it as the sun, right? It it'll burn out at some point, but it mostly fuels itself for a long,
Sure.
long time, and that's the concept that
So do you
I think
think that
the company.
translates over to the customers?
Oh, for sure, yeah, yeah. That's um, it maybe sounds cliche, but happy employees equals happy customers, right? I think customers can certainly tell if they're talking to somebody that's like, I don't know why I work here. So.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Uh, and
Well,
I don't know that I'd want to be doing business with somebody that says that to me or makes me feel that way.
right. All right. Let's talk a little bit about company positioning and your value proposition. You specialize in fluid bags, flexible consumer packaging, and contract manufacturing. How do you educate your customers about the unique value of your comprehensive approach from concept to commercialization?
Yeah. Well, uh, yeah, maybe even we'll get into like how we educate on how we do what we do and how we do it. But
Because I have a feeling it's not just selling. It's there's got to be a lot of education and telling.
there's no doubt. I mean, we just did. I when my partner, his name's Jake, he said, "Hey, I got this company, VONCO Products." I'm like, "Who?" Right? Right? You have never heard of them, and that to me is my biggest fear is that everything that we do is very unique and that you just talked about and can be very helpful for category managers, could be very helpful for new product development engineers, could be helpful for R&D engineers, could be helpful for sustaining engineers at all these medical devices. But if they don't know about us, they're sub-optimizing their own job, the product, the patients that they're serving. And so my biggest concern was just literally name recognition and creating some level of brand around what is VONCO products. And so there's just multiple channels we've taken to try to get more and more of that recognition. I called it project relevance. And there's multiple ways we attacked it. We want to be more relevant. We're very customer centric, a small group of customers that we want to grow deeply with. And the way that we did that from project relevance is we started to make acquisitions that helps us put us in different spots of the organization. There's a packaging group, so our sterilization packaging, our barrier packaging is one group. We've got the single use and disposable fluid bags. That's another group. New product development groups. We've got packaging supplies we can help support. We've got sterilization management services that we can support. So now we're getting across an organization, so it gives us a lot to talk to, a lot to market to, and then the name recognition is getting out there. Of course, the biggest media we probably use is Google, and then LinkedIn is a close second for a lot of our content marketing. But really, the opportunity then is when we have that introduction meeting is to talk about those differentiators. Like, okay, you've got something that I should be aware of. We've seen in some of these segments, there's consolidation in the market. We've got some unique capabilities like PVC replacement or foil replacement. Like, we need to talk to these people. This is what's on my mind. So then we get that meeting. And that differentiator really comes in multiple ways, is how we help you go from concept to commercialization. And one of the things I'm really proud of is my design engineering team. We've got a great sales team, don't get me wrong, but I've talked to recruiter after recruiter about, hey, I'd like to get an engineer that's comfortable being customer facing and help customers through their problems and be comfortable with that. And they all make
They're,
the same face that you just did, Kevin. It just doesn't exist. And
they're a
we are
unicorn.
breaking the mold. And
Yeah,
so
they're unicorns.
and we've got a great, a big group of people that are passionate about understanding what the customer wants to try to solve for and finding ways to do that. So I think that process is done through, we talk about rapid prototyping, we call them sparks. That's our mechanized term. We call it spark sessions where we're sparking innovation and then getting that innovation in your hands. Oh no, what about this? How could you do that? And then we have the hardest thing I think to do uh, is try to bridge the customer. Okay, now I've got this in my hand, but we have to build equipment. We have to build a process. We all need to invest money in this thing. How do I know I'm going to get what you're telling me is going to happen? And we walk through what's called a roadmap to commercialization that goes through all the risks and opportunities through this process at really painstakingly detail, which engineers can appreciate that we're that thoughtful to help them understand this process and the milestones that go on through that to then equal what's called on the outside of that roadmap to commercialization. We like that. We go to a statement of work. All right, here's what we commit to. Here's what you're committing to. Here's the investment for each on each other's end to make a fair deal. So really, those are the areas that I love to talk about and differentiate. But also then once we're commercialized, especially fluid bags, over 60% of our product is device. Most of our devices are fluid bags in some sort, keeping fluids in the bag or keeping fluids off of the product that it's protecting. And so we just can't leak. And we have a trademark called Liquilock that's an unconditional guarantee. If one of our seals leaks, no questions asked, here we'll cover it. And that is a big deal for me, right? It's fluid. I came from the potato chip world. One open bag of potato chips, not a big deal, right? Maybe one consumer writing back, my chips were stale. You have a bag that leaks, right? Certainly pallets, containers, um, full trucks are ruined. And so it's just that we're that passionate about it. Run a Six Sigma defect per million process. We're operating in well over the Seven Sigma levels on leaks.
So you just mentioned that you're really trying to cross over into multiple areas of the organization with multiple products, and you just mentioned that the bags are probably 60% of your business. Has something grown faster than the bags? Has there been something that surprised you or growing, or has it been fairly static with all your product growing?
Yeah, so healthcare is 80% total, 60% in single use and disposable products, which most of those are fluid bags, 20 or so percent, a little higher, medical device packaging, and then about 20% is going into consumer packaging in the health and hygiene and household space, all those fluids that are on the other side of the grocery store that, kind of the maybe the pharma side. So your mouthwashes, your soaps, your floor cleaners, all those things, and they're all in rigid. So um, I would say that our healthcare has been growing dramatically faster over the last, let's call it, since COVID. But now we're seeing because there's a focus on lightweighting plastic. You have all this rigid. Um,
Hmm.
that there's a tremendous interest in our Liquilock guarantee as well as the lightweighting that flexible packaging provides over rigid packaging. So
Interesting.
I would say healthcare is still kind of leading the way. The actual product base, we've invested the most there for sure. But the health, hygiene, and household is really the same premise, just in a different vertical of what we're doing in the healthcare space.
Man, you're terrific. You keep nailing you've been answering questions that I haven't even asked. So, one of the ones that I did come up with is you'd mentioned I'm not sure if it was your LinkedIn page or web page, the prototyping and 3D capabilities. What's the biggest challenge in unlocking the momentum there?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have all of it, right? We source some of it, and finding suppliers that kind of live to our standards is sometimes the issue. But I think we've done a good job, finding groups that are interested in supporting us. One of the challenge on the 3D printing. So for the most part, we've got all the, let's call it, plastic films here. We have our own tool shop that we can, make our own bag anytime. But a lot of times there's connectors or tubes or things of that nature. And in many cases, there might be some proprietary nature to the connector, and they want to get that so that it can weld in. Well, that's going to create a custom part, right? And so when there's a custom part, then we go to a 3D printer. One of the challenges has been is to get a 3D printed part to weld into a flexible film. They're usually different plastics that don't have the same melt points. So we do struggle in some of those areas to try to get a really good, let's call it, working prototype. We can make it aesthetically pleasing, or we can make it working, and it does not very, but not usually not both early on when there's a connector involved. And as you imagine, that most of the why are we when there's a fluid bag involved, there's usually some sort of pump or drain or something that needs to attach to it in the healthcare world.
That's why I asked because I had some background in history with 3D printers, and I was kind of curious on how you did
Yeah, if
that
we could do that,
with bags.
yeah, I don't know. Well, like when you're blowing when you melt polyethylene, for instance, right? The big thing is the back pressure that it creates, and so maybe there's just too much pressure on some of these plastics that to allow it to print like that. But I've not really looked into that. That would be interesting if you have any listeners that know how to solve that. I would be all ears.
Well, I'll tell you what, the podcasts that I've done have been stunning how I could make connections
Yeah.
with these people. And so potentially, yes. I'm going to switch to AI and technology real quick. You mind?
No, not at all.
You've been integrating AI, from what I can tell, into your manufacturing process. What's that look like really in practice? And what's been a surprising about the transition into some of the AI solutions and things that you're doing?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I wish it was
Big
maybe
topic today. So
yeah, oh, no doubt about it. And from the manufacturing process, I wish I was further ahead. I need some help to accelerate that. There's a lot of data out there that is hard to know what to access and when. And AI, we're using AI in the front office quite a bit, and I know that it could be very helpful in getting more real-time feedback on where our major issues are. I would say like some of the best tools we're using in it is consolidation of data. So we have these chats going back and forth through Teams, and then we can dump that all into Chat GPT and give me my summary of what seems to be the biggest topics. So from my perspective, I can go with what are the hots. I can find the hot spots really quickly because these chats are going on all day long. I can't keep up with all that. In fact, they won't put me on it because it's just too much. And it's rightfully so. We've got 40 pieces of equipment and cells and things like that are just they're doing a great work three shifts around the clock, right? And so there's all these communication channels going now. But what's hard for me is to get summary data out of that, and ChatGPT can pull that summary data real quickly. So that's about the extent of what we're using on the manufacturing process. We've got a great ERP system that I bet we could overlay AI on that, and
can I ask what you're using there?
we have Cloud Suite,
Okay.
CSI. Yeah.
CSI, yeah.
Yeah. And the but on the front end, what we've done on for sales and marketing is um, well, again, I guess one of the challenges I have, we've got a lot of products we offer, and the engineers understand those products really well, but uh, sales are more commercially led, more relationship driven. The technical side of things have been tough, so trying to figure out like someone gets a real good specialty on our specimen transport product line, and then we sell that. Someone has a real specialty on RF welding and very comfortable selling that, but we get them into a different scenario of another where we cross them over, right? They're a little nervous, and so we're trying to find ways to train them. So uh, we use a note taker. You have Fireflies on here, for instance, so we have a note taker as well. It's called Read AI, and that then summarizes the data and can, as you get onto a call, you will have here's how the subject matter expert answer these things. We can also review these things now and help provide feedback of, here's how we can, um, um, help you, get better at that product line, or here's how we follow our sales process. So we review sales calls together. The other thing too is we're big fans of selling with. It's a new book out there um, talking about certainly selling in the B2B world, especially into large organizations. What is you're typically not closing the deal while you're sitting there. It's going to be your contact that believes in you, and it's going to have to go and sell their constituents that this is the right move to go on. And putting together these business cases to help that person sell, we dump all the information into ChatGPT, and then it comes back out with this business case to help us drive those results as well. Now, marketing can take all this information we're getting to and make sure that we're, um, putting together relevant content that people are talking about.
So in selling with, you're selling within the organization across multiple large divisions and areas, and having to rely on your current resource to help you. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's. Do you have a? It's a whole different way of marketing that way. Do you find that you have a hard time getting new accounts? Is that something
Oh,
that?
for sure. For sure, right? I mean, we're in the healthcare space, and it is very hard to unseat somebody. One, there's a lot of cost of validation, but two, it's a trust thing, right? You have to build trust and credibility before anyone's going to stick their neck out
Right.
for you. So, again, our strategy is to take the current accounts we already have and get deeper in. Don't get me wrong, we still target getting new customers, but we it's a long road to do that.
So it sounds like you've used some of this, but have you used AI in sales and marketing? For customer targeting, content creation, predictive maintenance, supply chain. I mean that encompasses sales and marketing, but also supply, logistics. Are you looking at any of that as well?
Yeah, so let's talk maintenance. Factory Track is collecting all this information, and we can spit that out into AI to get some of our reliability metrics. Where do we need to increase our preventive maintenance? Where do we decrease our preventative maintenance? Certainly on marketing content, I can spit out marketing content now myself, right? And quickly. I've used it for RFPs before for equipment, for materials. It'll spit out and mail it out, for you basically, and you're done, right? In 20 minutes, something that would take me 3 days, put together all this stuff. It's a little bit of tweaking, it'll spit out one and then you got to clean it up, spit out another
Yep.
RFP, right? Clean that up. And then, here's the list I want you to just go ahead and send these to these contacts. Done, right? So it's
Got it. So, I mean, there's so many places AI touches today, and it can be from logistics to heck. I just saw today a financial package all AI, very slick. Are you talking to your employees about AI? Have you thought, is it going to impact their future? Have they come to you, or is that
Yeah, yeah. As far as like a fear, like I'm going to be replaced by AI, it hasn't. The conversation that I've had, and we're about 200 people, and so typically in a very custom shop, so there's a high variety, right? So it's you know, I would say in general we've got too much to do, not worried. So I think what I'm hearing is like when I teach somebody or somebody learns a new trick, they're so eager to try to teach everybody else because it just starts to unbury yourself from the activity that's happening right now. So I don't think my team is overly concerned about it, but we are. I would say it's kind of like maybe we're kind of like AI. We're self-learning, right? And so as somebody learns something, we just kind of share it out and start using it in this area now to try to
yeah,
speed things up. Our strategic market research, gets done, so quick with this.
yeah? Well, it's interesting. The more accessible it becomes, the deeper, you can do automation in everything. And if people grab onto it, it's great, and then it's the self morphing thing and it's part of the culture. So, but it's the fear of where, like you used to work at Appleton Papers, where jobs will be,
Yeah,
right?
eliminated. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
um,
I can't remember what company said it right off the top of my head, but I like that. Hey, we're going to hire people that better find ways to use AI, and that's what I would feel like we're creating here. People aren't afraid of it. People are trying to figure out how this can help them be more effective in their roles.
you'd be surprised at how many people are just fearing it instead of just trying it. And that's going to catch up to them.
Yeah.
Trust me. What have been some of the biggest challenges you faced getting VONCO solutions into the hands of manufacturers, and consumer brands? What specific strategies worked well? And what hasn't delivered what you expected?
Hmm.
There's one.
Yeah.
What's not worked?
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
worked well? What's not worked?
Yeah. What's worked well? I think what's worked well is this horizontal strategy. This has really gotten us in
The
front
work
of,
wide.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and we become more of a known name within these larger med device
Yeah,
companies.
you're using that trusted, there, can't remember the name of it's the 7 steps of trust, but that works really well. So,
Stephen Covey, the speed of trust is Stephen Covey type thing. But yeah, yeah, so using the trust we've already established and go say refer us over here, refer us over there. So referrals have been a huge part of our success within a company we're already doing it, and then even outside, getting into new companies has typically been someone that's referred us, and so that referral process is working. What's not always working. It's the hard the so most of these devices end up in a long design and development process. And I don't know how to solve for this. And again, I'm open to thoughts from you or the listeners is getting these projects right. Again, you've got limited resources to work on so many things, and if you choose your customers' projects wrong and they don't go, uh, you might get compensated for those hours, but that's an opportunity loss that we'll never be able to get back on something that could have gone into the production plant. And that's happened a few times over on us where it's been difficult to um, ascertain, how well will this do. But the more challenging thing, Kevin, is that the duration of these projects are such that the world moves so fast. What was the initial thesis? By the time this thing gets ready to launch, the world has changed and that thesis is no longer valid. And so, keeping an eye on that along the way and trying to have these touch points along the way and these business reviews along the way has been the best we could do to make sure assumptions don't change. But it's interesting that, some of the companies themselves don't really have the gut check until it's ready to launch.
You're one of the few people that brave to say those things. That was really, and the people I've talked to, it's, yeah, I know they're having similar problems.
Yeah,
So,
it's painful. Yeah. So yeah, that's been like the bane of my existence trying to solve that. Um,
do
you
you
know,
think AI will help in that somehow
that's a
in
good question.
predictive forces and you could load in potential issues and I mean technology shifts so fast. How do you predict that?
Right.
Right.
Tell me where technology is going to be 2.5 years when this launches. That'd be impressive. But I think that at least what it can do is most likely help me ask better questions, and help the customer ask better questions because I don't think they're interested in spending 2.5 years and not launching either.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so uh,
But sometimes they want you to figure it out. They don't want to put the time and the energy in. You're the pro. And a lot of times that leaves you hanging.
yeah.
So have you found supply chain disruptions like evolving tariff landscapes have hit you at all? And have you been managing sourcing and production challenges?
Yeah.
Anything on the strategic planning and that kind of thing? Because I had one guy buy a year and a half worth of inventory when Trump got elected.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now he had the money.
Yeah, we had talked about those strategies as well. It is obviously evolving. I mean, if there's anything certain, it's uncertain, and that's been the challenge. Uh, in general, though, we're domestically sourced. We have a few areas that we are vulnerable to it. We've had to, in only one case, add a surcharge to one customer, one product line. Um, there are some price adjustments that seem to be happening in a few other areas that might be taking advantage of it that we have to pass through, but it's not really been a big surcharge issue. Um, so yeah, in general, we're kind of looking at this as an opportunity because what it's geared towards is, trying to bring back domestic manufacturing, which is what we are, and we have a domestic supply chain on top of it. So we're
Do you
in
tout
it.
that do you tout that with your customers? Do you
Oh,
talk
for
to them
sure.
about that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, for sure. And that's another area where like it's been I don't know if you could have gone many calls to other manufacturers without somebody bringing up, the competitive landscape with China so much that everybody joins them, right? Let's put our own plants in China. And so, I think it's been difficult to compete over there, and whether you know, my ultimate belief, it's not fair trade policy with China for sure. I still don't think their dollar floats, with or it's not attached to any benchmark, and so how do you compete on a global scale against that? And the labor rates are way different on what the laborers are willing to accept there, and the environmental regulations are completely different. The quality requirements are different. And so, yeah, it's somewhat of an unlevel playing field. And so, in those areas, I think it's wise to, make sure that you've got a balanced supply chain, from my customer's perspective. And I think they're all looking at it. in COVID times, we heard the term supply chain resiliency, right? We noticed that things shut down for a period of time, especially with China. We can't have that happen. People were talking about reshoring. I didn't see the level of activity I'm seeing now.
Yeah.
You know, all right. It was urgent for about the first year coming into 22, 23. It started to fizzle about the conversations, but then just right on the heels here, first thing 25, we're talking tariffs again. So another kind of hit on some of the global supply chain. So I, 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 it seems like the conversations are more serious about a more balanced supply chain. I guess I'd put it that way. I wouldn't say like, hey, we're leaving China, we're leaving Asia, we're leaving Latin America, but I do want to kind of keep an eye on some level of percentage that's here in the States, some level of percentage that's in Central America, some level of percentage instead of like just going to the best cost.
Do you have to deal with government regulations? You kind of brought it up. I'm thinking about the U.S. regulations that inhibit production growth, environmental issues, FDA requirements, that kind of thing, regulatory challenges at all?
Yeah, for sure. The biggest one being the FDA. You know, all med devices and food products are somewhat governed or regulated at least by the FDA. And so, you know, we 21 CFR 820 is the code of regulations that we follow for med devices, which ISO 1345 is really a system that helps you comply to the to that standard. Um, so you know that's a big part of our regulatory side. We print, so we do have some EPA and DNR regulations around some of the um, volatile chemicals we
Thanks.
use
Yeah.
inside, yeah, inks inside, yeah, our inks and adhesives. So you have some components to that as well. So those would be the big regulating bodies that certainly labor laws, things like that.
Yeah. Before I move on to the next topic, I am kind of curious. We talked about production cycles. Could this, regulations and that kind of stuff would change in to all of a sudden take your innovation cycle and production and throw it out of whack? Has that happened to you at all?
Give me an example. Like, what do you mean?
So Congress comes down. You've been at it a year and a half now. Congress comes down and puts
Yeah.
down a new, and all of a sudden you're thrown back 6 months, 9 months.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess maybe the biggest risk we have in our, threat, I guess, in this in the global macro environment is, where are people falling for plastics, and from a sustainability, you hear some war on plastics, microplastics, those types of things, and so many states, and then single-use packaging is also. You were hearing state by state there, it's called EPR, environmental producer responsibility. So that is something that can shift something pretty quick overnight. In some of these EPRs, again, so sustainability is a big topic, and it's been very difficult to get a very concise um, definition of what sustainability means, Kevin. And so uh, each state has a different opinion of what sustainability is. Each brand owner, each medical device owner has a different definition of what sustainability is. In some cases, it's let's use less natural resources. In some cases, let's make less carbon emissions. In some cases, let's recycle everything. In some cases, less landfill waste is the definition, right? So there's so many definitions, and you've got regulators trying to intervene here and say what's best for the world and commerce. And so certainly that could throw businesses like mine into a tailspin.
Yeah. Well, this moves us into the growth and vision. And one of the first questions I had, if you looked at one of the questions I had when I reviewed your website, and um, all your products. I was curious if you're looking at competitors, and when I say competitors, I'm not talking about competitors in your industry, but people that are utilizing packaging in a biodegradable type thing. So maybe potentially you could roll them into you. Do you even keep an eye on out for that, or is it
Yeah, I
just
mean,
just in case it comes down and squeezes you?
yeah, I mean, yes, I would say I feel like we're in a really good spot to have a good sustainable story. One, from an industry, we check a lot of boxes. The flexible film area is certainly the least carbon emitting packaging form. So you think about shipping. Containers, rigid containers, right? You're shipping a lot of air to get it filled to begin with. You can ship everything flat or in rolls. So you take trucks off. It's a lot less natural resource to begin with because it's a lot lighter. You have a lot going for you from that standpoint. The challenge has been the recyclability of flexible products, flexible packaging, flexible medical devices. Um, those are the areas we're working on. Biodegradability, it's coming. We've seen Frito-Lay launch products that will degrade in the environment, and so I like their stance of saying, "Hey, look, we have a litter problem, but we're not going to be able to solve that consumer by consumer on litter. We need to just make it disappear and get it back into dirt somehow, some way."
Yeah.
And that technology is evolving. So we continue to stay very close to that. We're not material formulators, right? We buy the materials and then form them and weld them together. That's really what. So we stay very close with our suppliers and what they're developing to make sure we can get the most sustainable solutions in our customers' hands as quickly as possible.
Yeah. We're getting down to on the time, but I'm going to ask you a couple more questions. If you had unlimited resources for one initiative this year, what would you invest in and why?
Yeah, I'm really passionate about PVC replacement. We've got some really unique technologies to help companies do that. PVC is really being pushed by Europe at this point as a bad acting plastic. It has really two issues: to make it soft and flexible. So all your IV bags, your dialysis bags, blood bags. I would say all. It's not 100%, but the majority of them are still made with PVC. Europe has taken a hard stance that they want that out of the landfills. There's a They use what's a plasticizer in there called a DHP to make it soft, and these things can leach into these materials, which we're concerned about that getting into the bloodstream or the body, and then also PVC emits chlorine gas, right? And so that's a bad actor into the released into the environment. So whether you burn it or whether it decays, it's making toxic gases. So we want to see that eliminated. We have some really unique technologies that can help transition equipment that's making PVC bags, use that same equipment, which typically doesn't work, into something that's a bit more sustainable, like a polypropylene. And so if I could wave a magic wand and had enough money to market and enough money to invest in helping these companies do that, I would like to help some of these major companies lead the effort to eliminate PVC.
Awesome. When you look at the next 12 to 18 months, what's the one challenge that keeps you up at night?
Yeah, the biggest challenge right now is hiring. I wish I didn't have to say that. I was really happy on how well we did. We had a huge growth during COVID. We make a lot of products that help there. We ended up making surgical gowns,
Mhm.
hospital gowns. We make these specimen transport products that took the PCR test from lab. I'm sorry, from hospital to lab. So we became extremely busy and had to hire during that period of time, and was really worried with the just the entire world's state of mind that nobody's going to want to come into a manufacturing plant and work. And so we did quite nicely there, but we saw quite the slowdown coming out of COVID. I call it the great destocking. I don't, maybe someone else has coined that word, but that's what's happened. Right? Everyone bought so much stuff during COVID for fear of stockouts that we had to right size that supply chain. But our base business is back. Our growth initiatives are working. So now we're aggressively trying to grow our headcount. And uh, we moved out of Illinois into this county, and I've joined the Economic Development Board here. And it's an interesting stat. We grew, over only a few years. It's quite the manufacturing renaissance here in Kenosha County, um, attracting many, many manufacturers, us being one of them back in 2017. I've been involved with many others coming.
Got a lot of people leaving the Chicagoland area.
Yeah, that's part of it. That's but not all of it, right? We've seen major players move here as well from other regions. So it's been really cool to see the manufacturing renaissance, I would say, in Kenosha County. I mean, it's just every one block you have a manufacturing park, another manufacturing. But we grew jobs by 20,000 in a short period of time, but population hasn't grown at all. And so part of that challenge to me is, the lack of affordable housing being built to support what we're saying is our focus in bringing manufacturing back to America, or even these regions. And so that's certainly an area that I've got some passion for, trying to figure out how we continue to support the workforce for manufacturing.
Awesome. All right. Last question. If your current growth initiatives succeed, what would that unlock for VONCO and taking it to its next level? What's that look like?
Yeah, I think it's execute, innovate, and acquire, and we just kind of rinse and repeat. So, how do we get wider and deeper into some of these organizations? It could be vertical integration, it could be another horizontal play, another product that's, close to our core competency that we'd be able to offer, whether that's through our innovation process or acquisition process. It's certainly what's if things go well, that's what we see on the on the
Awesome.
yeah.
Well, thanks so much. I appreciate it. I really do. It was incredible. Your perspective on technical expertise and strategic partnership was really, I think, will resonate with everybody. And I really appreciate your time and your openness.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Yeah, anything you got on AI that could be helpful that you heard, we're certainly open to learn.
Well, if you've got a few minutes, I'll chat with you. I just want to stop the recordings and
Sure.
check. All right. Hang on a sec.